You're listening to the UTalk Hockey Podcast with your hosts Champ and Denz. What's up, UTalk Hockey Nation? I'm your host Champ
Denz.
And we are so excited to do another episode of the UTalk Hockey Podcast. There's been some great news surrounding the NHL in Utah.
Sure has, but there's even better news from last night.
Heck yeah. You might have seen on our socials some exciting happenings that happened in Provo at Peaks Ice Arena at 10:45 p.m. last night. What was it, Denz?
You know, the Mid-Ice Crisis Ducks won number dos.
Number 2, the Winter Cup for the Rookie League. Go Ducks. We actually have a special guest that we have to introduce. The man, the myth, the legend, the Mid-Ice Crisis Ducks goalie, Tyler. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. My name is Tyler. I am a goalie, and I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Tyler's got some great insights. He's going to be sharing some of his thoughts throughout the episode, so you're going to get to know him more and his knowledge. I mean, this guy saved us so many times last night because we needed him, and he delivered when we needed him most. So, way to go.
There's a reason why we won. We got a few points, but
They
Tyler
didn't get as many.
Yes.
And it's actually fun. We played the same team that we did in the last championship. They're always a good competition. So
They were
really
looking for
excited.
revenge, and we didn't give it to them.
Just couldn't give it to them. 2 Pete. Are we going for 3? Check us out in Provo at Peaks Ice Arena in the summer.
You know, that was probably the largest crowd at a championship game for Rookie League at 11 p.m. at night I've ever seen.
Tyler, how did you feel about it?
That was amazing. Like, it was loud.
Loud. Super
It was loud.
Unfortunately,
It was
wasn't
mostly for the Bison and not us. The Bison were the other team.
Yeah, the Mid-Ice Crisis did not have representation last
We
night.
had representation,
Small
it just
amount.
wasn't as good.
But, you know, we sent a lot of those fans home a little disappointed.
Yeah.
That's what playoff hockey is all about.
All about championship, the championship. So good, so good. You might notice that we actually changed the backdrop here. It's NHL in Utah, and I'm actually wearing the shirt as well. You might notice it's an extra large, a little larger for myself. But we are representing a ton of actual swag. Here we got UTalk Hockey shirt, NHL in Utah, and Tyler's even rocking the Peaks Adult Hockey League Championship shirt that you win when you win the cup. So,
Yeah.
man, we're just killing it. Also, I know, Golden Knights.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that later. Let's, Adam, if you're watching or listening, don't worry about it, man. I can wear whatever the heck I want, okay? You can chirp at me all day, and I'll bring it right back. I'll dish it right back.
I love how Adam's just going to be the
Adam's
name
the
of
guy.
so many episodes.
Adam and I met. We're fine, dude. He's fine.
Yeah. What's cool about this logo and this shirt is it's going to have, like, it was the first.
It was.
They needed to brand it and have it look like something, and NHL in Utah was the brand. And we'll get into that possibly changing by the time the season starts, but
Yes.
let's
dive in
Let's dive
to
in.
the first segment, one that we love, Off the Post. Off the Post. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to ask you both, and I want your thoughts on this, okay? This was posed on social, in articles. It's been floating around. Everybody wants to know, will the Utah hockey team be a playoff team in 2025? What's everybody's thoughts?
Let's start with Tyler.
Man. So we're going to talk about the goalies here in just a little bit. I think they both need to be playing up to 500 if they're going to get there. They need to make about 20 more points this year than they did last year. I think the fans in Utah are going to do a lot to drive the confidence of the team. Just seeing the reaction, the emotional reaction of the team at the event that we had a week ago, that was just amazing. You could tell
So
that they were firing up the crowd. I think the crowd was firing them up too. If that carries into the regular season, I think there's a chance, but I think it's going to be really close. I think they might either squeak in or they might just barely miss. I think the next season after that was going to be better. So they might not make it this year, but I think they'll definitely make it next year.
That's one take. Denz, I'm curious your thoughts.
There is a level of the new and excitement. I think of when Vegas, when they were established, it was an expansion team, so they got in some good talent on expansion. And I believe we have good talent from the Coyotes coming over, but there's something about like being the underdog, and then all of a sudden you're in the new playground, and no one really knows you in the new environment. And you know what? That can pull out some pretty incredible miracles on ice.
Dude, but last night even in rookie league, beer league hockey, when the crowd got wild, we played better. Even if they weren't cheering for us, the noise of a crowd fueled
just
my
the
desire
energy
to dive for the puck, get in the way, don't let them score, go try and score. Energy is going to lead these guys to victory. And if anybody was at that dang Delta Center on Wednesday, the 23rd of April, was it the 24th? No, it's the 23rd.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Fact check. One of those days, Wednesday last week, that energy in that arena is going to change the way these guys play.
And I think you could say, like, you know what? The talent, maybe it was next season developing, but in general, it could just, come out of the woodworks all of a sudden. That's like, where did this come from? It's new. And when things are new, sometimes things just randomly fall together off of the energy that's out there, and it's an exciting time. And so I'll take the other side of it, that it's just a new season, and it can be maybe it's a fluke, maybe it's real talent, and it'll just continue. But it's just the new season, and so it'd be awesome.
It's up in the air. It's awesome. We're going to be talking about later in this episode about the NHL draft coming up and the lottery that's coming up. If you don't know what that is, stay tuned. That's going to be later in the episode in the power play. So you got to hold on to that one. Okay, we're going to go to the next point. So, Denz, one of our favorite topics so far on this show has been the name, right? The name of the team. Tyler, you've heard the news as well. Ryan Smith wanted to hold off and just say it's going to be the Utah team, right? It's just going to say Utah on the jersey.
Got to get it right. Gary Bettman talked about getting it right.
But one thing that I really want to pinpoint, and that ESPN reported on it, I love what they said. I want to read what they said, and then let's explore it a little bit. They said, all Smith wants is for the team to feel like they're part of something and that they'll be taken care of in Utah. And that's one reason why the team might end up with a nickname next season, despite initial plans to hold off on a mascot until year 2. Smith is keen on having players be able to refer to themselves as something beyond just Utah. The Smith Entertainment Group has hired Doubleday and Cartwright, a firm that has handled branding for numerous pro teams, to work on the name and logo for the team. It could be fast-tracked. I hope it's fast-tracked. Ryan, if you're listening, fast-track that, baby. Let's go. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's been awkward to try to call it Utah Hockey Team.
Yes.
Utah Hockey Team.
The Utah Hockey Club.
NHL Utah. So it'll be nice to have something to call them. Even if it doesn't show up on the jerseys, even if we don't have a logo right away, I mean, that sort of thing kind of takes time. But to have something to call them. As I think about it now, I think if we don't end up with an official nickname, there's going to be an unofficial nickname someone somewhere is going to come up with. So, I think Mr. Smith, we need something official from you before we start taking matters into our own
Very
hands.
good point.
Before it becomes another testament of hockey.
Jeez.
That was first episode. Go listen to it.
So what's interesting is I was talking with family earlier today, and I was just like, there had to have been all of the rumors circulating, those that just wanted to go and get a cash grab, to just go think of any possible name and do UtahMammoths.com. Utah, just go purchase everything. I don't even know what's available, but it's one of those things where I was just like, if someone was very forward thinking and the community
right.
decided on, let's say, Utah Mammoths, they bought the domain 2 months ago. It's my favorite. And then they turn around and be like, well, if you really want it, the entire state of Utah voted it as the number one. Well, when they do the bracket, they're like, yeah, I'll sell it to you for $10 million. Like, there could have been some forward thinkers out there. Anyways.
Absolutely. on a tangent real quick, the reason why I like the Mammoths so much is because if you were face to face with a Mammoth, you're going to lose. Am I right or am I right? Like,
haven't you ever seen Ice Age?
Oh, yeah, dude. Classic.
No one wants to go up against him.
Manny the Moody Mammoth. Manny the anyway.
Yeah.
The Mammoth, just, it's not an animal you want to mess with.
No.
And that's the vibe that I think we need at whatever logo, whatever nickname comes. It has to be something that can't be beat to give these guys a new life. A coyote, sure. It's kind of mean, you know? But
the Mammoth is extinct.
Dude, why would you say that?
Because
come on.
Someone
So what?
someone else brought it up, and I thought it was a very funny way to. They were saying these arguments back and forth, and I agreed. And then someone just mic dropped on another podcast, and he's like, "Aren't the mammoths extinct?" And everyone just had that same reaction. Oh, why?
Come on, don't say that.
I had to
Tyler,
bring it up.
What do you think, man?
We could resurrect the mammoth if we had to.
There you
I don't
go.
think there's any problem
See,
with
that's
that.
the attitude that
There
we
you
need
go.
here, Utah. Let's go. And instead of saying "Let's go Utah," because I'm a BYU fan. I said it. Okay, I'm a BYU
yeah.
fan. Instead of saying "Let's go Utah,"
You wouldn't
it's
say
long
Utah.
enough if it's the Mammoths. Utah Mammoths. Then we don't even have to say "Let's go Utah."
Yeah, it's-
it can be its own chant. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw the abbreviation for the mammoths would be the moths.
The moths.
Moths.
Yeah,
Oh, that's too bad.
No,
yeah. I was like,
That
ah,
sounds very lame.
it does.
mammoth to
The
Moth.
the moths. I know
because you know the
can't
coyotes
call them
did
the
they
mamas.
did the yotes,
yeah.
and
Oh.
people just started saying moths, and I was like,
Dude, new team, new dream.
Yeah.
We're not going to be called the Moths. I'm not going to call them the Moths.
I hope not.
Me neither.
That's a squashable thing.
Have you ever squashed a moth? It literally is cloth.
Yeah,
I mean, it's weak.
yeah.
Nah, dude. Just
Yeah,
call-
we
the
can't-
woolies. Woolly
Woolly
Dude.
mammoth,
up, woolly down, woolly,
whatever the chant would
whatever
be.
it is.
Yeah.
We're going to get there.
Yep.
Anyway, let's move on to the next question. I've seen some reports, some different things. Bill Armstrong, GM of the now Utah Hockey Club, suggests that with all the draft picks, all the young players that the team has, this team is going to be good for years, up to 10 years, he suggests. But they're still kind of in this rebuild mode.
Yeah.
Let me read to you kind of this thought, okay? GM Bill Armstrong, while in Arizona, the ex-Coyotes players experienced getting out-cheered in our own building. That was his quote.
By the
Yes,
okay.
by GM Bill Armstrong saying getting out-cheered in our own building, right?
Yeah.
When they were in Arizona. After the Delta Center reception, Armstrong doesn't believe that history will repeat itself in Utah. And this is a direct quote from Billy himself. I got a warm feeling in my gut that that's not going to happen in Utah. Those fans are going to cheer. Bill, we're going to cheer for you. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is a 10-year good team?
I think they need to get there first. But I definitely see some bright spots. You're probably going to go through the lottery mechanics a bit and to
We're
see
going to get there. We're going to get there, Tyler. Easy.
where they can get there. But it looks like they're going to have a pick in the top 10 in the draft. So that's going to help them. This is going to be Logan Cooley's second year, and so he has a full year of experience behind him. This is going to be a much better environment for him to thrive. And just based on the Utah presentation when they came and introduced themselves to us, I kind of tell among that group who the leaders are. And again, that energy, I think this team is going to be good. I think the move is going to be good. It's going to help to build some confidence. And I think the players are young enough, they're hungry enough that you will see improvement year over year. Like I said, I think in the first year they're going to be right on the edge, right on the precipice. I think we're going to see more out of Logan Cooley. It'll be fun to see a new prospect, if that prospect can jump right into the NHL, to see what he's able to provide this team. But I think it's going to be a ramp up. I think we will get there, and I think they will be a good team for the next decade once
Nice.
they get up to that point.
Dude, I love that take. That was great. Denz, any thoughts? He's like, well, let me see. I think
Can I take the opposites? No.
You can, dude. That's
No,
what do.
I agree, and I'm optimistic. Just the energy and the shift of the move. obviously there has to be a lot of moving parts and actual talent development, and the rebuild in Arizona has been happening for 4 years. So we've taken the groundwork that they worked so hard to do, and it's being transplanted, but it's not starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And Bill Armstrong talked about it. Like, this isn't an expansion. We've been rebuilding this. We have these young players, and that's why he believes it's going to be a run on the next decade of a top contending team. I'm excited to see it.
Dude, I can't wait to see Billy in the supermarket. Yeah, me and Billy go way back. Just kidding. I don't know Billy from Adam. Not you,
actually,
Adam.
you
not,
know
not
Adam
that
now.
Adam. That's actually kind of funny. But anyway, Bill, when I see you in the grocery store, I'm excited to talk about it more with you. I think over the next decade, this team's going to be one of the hottest teams in the NHL.
Agreed.
So I'm stoked for that. Last thing we got to do, talking about rebuilding. Let's talk about rebuilding the Delta Center. And not just the Delta Center, downtown Salt Lake. It's been around, since, the pioneers. You know the history of Utah. But it needs to be better for sports. And there is a notion that is trying to be passed, and in fact is going to be looked at next week, May 7th, regarding a tax on the wish list from the biggest stakeholders are a major renovation to the Delta Center and a multi-block sports and entertainment district in Salt Lake City's downtown, specifically for NHL and NBA.
Yep.
One of the controversial things happening is this need for taxes, the people of Utah to pay partial in sales tax. So let's open that up for a second. It hinges on a key tax vote in July, but there's kind of this pre-vote that's happening next week on May 7th.
Yeah, there's a lot of belief that there won't be any problems passing it. We briefly talked about this in the last episode, but to dive into it more, the reason why I like most people, and from surveying data, they're not in favor of using public funds for sports, but it happens all the time. But there is a balance here. Option A originally was probably to uproot the Jazz, not out of Utah, but uproot the Jazz out of the downtown area with the NHL. And that would have been hard for Salt Lake. And in fact, Salt Lake leaders and city council freaked out at the prospect of it. So at the end of the day, this is a business transaction. The city wants to ensure that they stay. What I love about the remodel of the Delta Center is if we're going to use public funds to help in this transition and have a balanced and fair negotiation, that it's not all going to a team of billionaires. People like billionaires just get, public funds.
People were chirping on Reddit saying,
yeah,
why don't the billionaires pay for it? Why doesn't the team pay for it?
And arguably the billionaire just spent $1.2 billion of his own money to bring the team to Utah. So, but it's all about a balance. Now, if you look at just this transaction, people would say, oh, statistically, it never pans out. The city actually never really gets the payback. But I think it has such a massive ripple effect that you actually can't make that statement. And especially, and I brought this up last time with the Winter Olympics, 99.9% there coming back to Utah. There's infrastructure and entertainment that has to be built. And the more you do that, the more you bring entertainment. I've spent a lot of money in downtown Salt Lake City when I want to go fine dine. Like Salt Lake City has it. So I go spend my money there. I then pay those taxes for that experience. When you create that metropolitan hub and environment of entertainment and whatever it is, fashion and events, it brings spending to the city. And I think it's a good balance because not everything's going to go to the billionaire who's bringing the team. It's also going to go down to a few blocks of just complete overhaul. And it does feel disconnected. The Salt Palace, even though it's right across the street from the Delta Center, it's just to have all of that like flow better. And it's just, I personally believe that it is a great balance between private and government spending and coming together, that it's not all one-sided. And I think it's a fair negotiation, and there's still some things that need to be determined there, and that's still what's up in the air. But I think there's a pretty awesome balance in how Ryan Smith is willing to work on this.
Tyler, any thoughts?
I personally don't like voting for more of my money to go to the government. I will be honest with you. That's not my favorite thing to do. But then again, I also don't live in Salt Lake City. But you know what? I think investment in the community is good. Denz, you brought up the Olympics and how responsible we were in Utah with those facilities. I mean, if it weren't for that, the three of us, would not be able to play and lift the cup over our heads last night. That was so much fun. So I think as long as the money is used wisely, then it could be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to join the public hearing that will be happening on May 21st, you are welcome to do so.
I don't think anyone outside of Salt Lake City probably actually cares.
That's true.
Maybe a little bit.
I don't know. But that concludes our Off the Post segment. Now we get to jump into, hopefully, again, a fan favorite. I think it's got to be a fan favorite. Maybe I'm biased because it's my segment. Here we go. Chirpin' with Champ. Chirpin' with Champ. All right. So, I got some salty tweets, y'all. X's, whatever the heck it is.
Salty tweets for Salt Lake City.
That's right.
There you go.
And if you want to follow along on some of the saltiness, you just have to follow or look at the hashtag Salt Lake Sucks, Hate Utah, that type of stuff. Anyway, that's how you know you're in the right place for the chirps. But first off, there's one from Cole, and the NHL posted a picture of the players getting off the plane and that Utah gave such a warm welcome. And this person, Cole, X'd saying, I feel like Utah makes the playoffs next year because the hockey gods hate Arizona. Cole, what I'll say to you, the first part, I love what you said. They're going to make the playoffs. That's how I'm feeling. But you don't have to bring in that last part. Come on, man. They don't hate you. The owner hated you. The owner hated paying money. That's what I'm thinking. Easy. Take a drink. But easy, guy. Cole, I mean, it's not all about that. It's literally just the fact that the whole thing with Arizona just went down in a poor way. And that's why the move had to happen. That's why the NHL commissioner had to literally force the hand of the purchase of the team to leave the state of hockey in Arizona.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Am I off on this one?
I mean, there's a lot of bitterness with the ownership of the Arizona Coyotes in there and contributing to that. So it's like a former chirp that we brought up was just like, blame your owner.
Yeah.
Couldn't keep him, couldn't provide the arena, couldn't get things in order, There's a lot of couldn'ts that didn't happen there.
There is a next one that flows right into this. There's a picture at the Arizona or the Phoenix Zoo where the coyote exhibit is branded or is like sponsored by the Arizona Coyotes. Chase said the following: finally got around to going to the Phoenix Zoo yesterday and was greeted by this at the Coyote exhibit, saying it was sponsored by the Arizona Coyotes. And then he says this, hoping Morello doesn't stop supporting the actual Coyote as well. Go Yotes.
Yeah. Someone's bitter.
Someone's a little bitter. And Chase, maybe you won't have a Coyote in the Phoenix Zoo coming up.
Go ahead, Doug.
I mean, he does still own the name, and he does still own the
just
franchise.
Inactive.
So,
on a scale of 1 to 10, what are the odds that this guy actually brings hockey back to Phoenix under the name of the Arizona Coyotes?
Well, here's the thing. He's the only one that's allowed to.
Well, sure.
And I think there's been a lot of fans that don't like that because they believe that the odds of it returning under his ability is slim, but that was part of the agreement, which is unfortunate because I feel for all the hockey fans that don't have a hockey team nearby. It's a exciting feeling to have, and for Coyote fans to have to rely on an unreliable owner historically that hasn't been able to pull things off, that he's the only one that can bring it back, it's a little salty of a feeling.
Yeah. Speaking of salty, listen to this one. Kickback threads. You mentioned some things that just are super salty, and I'm ready to chirp it, right? Let's hear this. He says, with the exception of Doan, I wish nothing but the worst for them, and the Salt Lake sucks. He literally hashtagged it. I will also make an exception for those who demand a trade or don't renew their deals when up. He then comments after he's received several comments like, dude, why the heck are you saying this? And he says, I wouldn't wish my worst enemy having to spend even a night in Salt Lake. That team deserves better.
What?
How salty, dude. Kickback threads? Come on, man. Have you ever been to Salt Lake? Have you ever been to Utah? And if you have, we don't need you here. That's fine. You can go. You can go wherever the heck you live, man. But Utah is a great place. And when those players got off that plane and they went to that arena, it was a different feeling than what they had in Arizona.
And they all mentioned it.
And they all mentioned it.
Yep.
They all thanked us. They loved it. And the NHL in Utah is here to stay because we can actually make something happen for them. Unlike some of the people in Arizona. Now that's a chirp. Okay.
Mic drop.
Okay, couple more here. Couple more. We know that the draft lottery is coming up. We're going to talk about it in a second. But Peeler42 said this. I'm going to do it in this voice. I don't know why. Let's do it. It's obviously going to be Utah. We know it's rigged. Right? Is the NHL draft lottery rigged?
I'll let Tyler dive into this one.
Not that you actually know.
Does anyone know?
I'd like to say no. Of course, there are people who look at and see the physics of the balls as they go through the machine and try to say, oh wait, it was definitely going to be this team, but it ended up being that one instead. I tend to be less of a conspiracy theorist there. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they actually win the lottery.
We're going to talk about the percentage chance that Utah has to get the number one pick. We'll talk about that in a second. Last chirp, and then we're going to introduce a new segment, and it's coming up. It's exciting. Utah man posted after the Salt Lake Bees said this. Good morning, D-backs. D-backs being the Diamondbacks from Arizona, the baseball team.
Yep.
This is the Salt Lake Bees tweeting this. And Utah man says this to end the Chirpin' with Champ segment. The state of Arizona is about to hit Utah with a restraining order and a cease and desist. The whole point is the fact that maybe the Diamondbacks become the team that the MLB is thinking about bringing to Utah, right? So anyway, Utah man, I don't know if you can put in a restraining order on the entire state, but that is pretty funny.
Happened to Oakland and Vegas.
That's right.
So that could totally happen.
It could happen.
It did.
It could happen.
Could you imagine?
I can only imagine.
There you go.
Dude, yeah. Okay, that concludes Chirpin' with Champ. The new segment that we are going to introduce is actually one presented by our very own Denz, and it is called Dishin with Denz. Let's get into it. Dishin with Denz.
Let's do this. We have Chirpin' with Champ, Dishin' with Denz. We got a theme rolling. So, Dishin' with Denz. What the heck is it? Well, if you know hockey, you know what it means to dish. So, perfect. I had one last night.
No, that was you whiffing the puck. Just kidding. No, he had some great passes.
I can be a good facilitator.
I call
sometimes.
him the facilitator on the ice.
That is true.
He's good at assisting.
In this segment, though, we're gonna have player interviews. We're gonna go through behind the scene insights. We're also gonna, when the season starts, have this be about game analysis and hot plays that take, and just that are golden to talk about. And this is going to be a fun one because this is where the action happens. This is where the hype is. Hey, did you see that cross check? He flew 5 feet off the anyways, it's a fun segment. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, the fans and the hockey culture that is being developed and off the ice. So for the segment today, this is actually why we brought Tyler. He is
very
the
own
highlight.
goalie.
This is the player interview. We want to dive into the mind of a goalie. Yeah. And so I'm going to let actually Tyler take this away. I might ask some questions through this, but man, when you see some good dishing happen down the ice, what's going through your mind as the goalie?
Well, it depends on where the Dishin is happening. If the Dishin is happening way down at that other end, that's perfect. The puck's away from me. I can just relax and watch the game. That's fine. When it starts coming back the other way, that's when it gets a little bit more difficult. And, of course, if it's a nice cross-crease pass, that challenges my ability to move across the ice. I am not an athlete. I don't pretend to be. So I tell these guys, stop that from happening. Don't make me have to reach all the way across the crease to make saves. But it is an exciting feeling. First of all, I'll just say the goalies are weird. Most people aren't going to go strap on a bunch of pads and ask people to launch little chunks of rubber at them as hard as they can. But, we love it, and we love making saves. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that we would love to just be held out to dry and have to make saves the entire time. And then, when the puck goes in, and fortunately we don't have red lights behind our nets, so I don't have a little light that goes off every time. But we did have the loud crowd last night.
That's right.
Mostly hostile, and so that was
Mostly
some motivation.
hostile. It was.
Like, come on, guys, let's get over to the other side. But no, I really enjoy it. I would call it cathartic. This is rec league hockey. This is something that I kind of do to relax, and that's my way of doing it. Other people have their own ways of doing it. But yeah, when the puck's coming back the other way, that's when I get set. A couple things I do. One is I try to read the play because I'm also responsible to direct the defense and help them understand. Like, okay, I know that this person's coming in. I know you can't see me if you're just listening to this on Spotify or wherever. But if they're coming in on one side of the ice, on one wing, and they've got the puck and they're coming down, there's someone on the opposite wing who's not being covered from the other team. That's when I'm like, okay, I got to yell at my D and tell them, okay, you got to get over and make sure that you're blocking that pass. That pass doesn't happen, so I don't have to try to scramble across the crease if that pass happens. I can just focus on the one shooter and make sure that I'm set and centered. But yeah, I'll make sure that my stick is down on the ice, kind of hunch down a little bit without going too far down and giving up the top of the net. But try to make sure that my angles are right, both left and right, as well as top to bottom. Anticipate where the puck's going to go. Anticipate who's going to finish the play. These are all things that I have to keep in mind. And
I had no idea.
It just,
I had no idea.
It comes with practice. For shooters, when you're first learning how to play, every single movement is something that takes some practice, takes some getting used to, and you have to really think, okay, am I going to leave the puck on the ice? Am I going to lift it? What do I physically have to do to lift it up? And eventually you get to the point where you just skate towards the net and you just let the puck fly.
Take your shot.
Jeez, I am not there yet, Tyler.
That's okay. We're rookie league. That's okay.
Practice, dude.
So it's
But we'll get there. And that's what the experience is like for me for being a goalie is eventually I see what the play is. I can anticipate what's going to happen and I make the movement. If it's sticking out the leg pad, if it's reaching out my glove and snagging something, in some cases, it's part of the reflex now. So, like I said, I don't pretend to be good, but it's a lot of fun.
I mean, you saved our butts last night.
You did.
Last night was interesting. Probably some of my most favorite, but also nerve-wracking times was when there were just a cluster of saves that I had to make. So I make a save, the rebound comes out, puck comes right back at me, a little bit higher this time, but I'm anticipating that, so I'm able to actually make the save. So that was fun. I was able to then get my glove on the puck, keep my wrist from getting broken when they were slashing at the puck afterwards. No, it was a lot of fun, but that all sounds very complex and everything. The one thing I do to recenter myself when I start to overthink things is I just say, make the next save. That's all I have to do is just make the next save, watch the puck, and just make the next save.
Well, Tyler, with this, we have some goalies that we need to learn about on this new NHL team. And what do you know about them? They're obviously going to be a key contribution to us maybe making the playoffs in year one or year two, is our goalies. and being able to stop that puck. They need to be the great wall. Can they be?
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope that they can bring it better. This is where it comes down to confidence, like I was talking about. I think that, again, coming to Utah, having that great experience, knowing that they're going to be in an arena with 12,000 fans where like 10,000 of them are going to be cheering for them, is really going to help, and they're going to need that. So I'm actually going to start with the backup. The guy I think is going to be the backup this year. He was the backup last year, just because he's really interesting to me. He might end up being my favorite player. Now I'm a little biased towards goalies. But this guy is Karel Vejmelka. He is from the Czech Republic, and his path to the NHL is a little different. So he was drafted by the Nashville Predators. Didn't end up signing a contract with them, probably because around the time he was drafted, or shortly after he was drafted, you had Pekka Rinne in the system, and you had Jussi Saros. So if you got those two guys, the chances of him actually making it to the NHL aren't too great. So he goes back to the Czech Republic. He spends 5 years there, so his contract runs out, or his time frame for signing a contract runs out. But he decides to go back to the NHL, and of course, the Arizona Coyotes, doing the rebuilding phase and trying to plug gaps. They go and they sign him. And I don't think they were planning on him being the starting goalie when he came. I think the idea was he was going to be the backup. I don't know if there was an injury situation. There was some situation that happened. He ended up being the man. And so then he got thrown right into NHL action. And it's kind of been a bit of a bumpy road for him. It's interesting because of the fact that there are some nights when he can just go in there and be lights out. 1 goal game, shutout games, he'll see 40 shots. The last game that he played in the regular season, his last game for the Arizona Coyotes that he started for, was a game against Edmonton. He allowed 2 goals on 41 shots. They won the game. The Arizona Coyotes beat the Edmonton Oilers, the ones that have they eliminated the Kings yet?
Not yet.
It's
close.
It's
game's
close.
live right now, maybe.
Yeah,
they might have actually done it.
Maybe by the time you hear this,
Either they went
You
on the
let
game
us
too, or
they might not. I mean, they're a scary team, and Vejmelka was able to shut them down. The problem is he hasn't been able to do this consistently. So over this past season,
consistency.
he was a little bit underwater. I think 13 wins, 19 losses in regulation, couple of OT losses on top of that. So hopefully he's able to regain some confidence and find a way to make those big games more consistently. Now, if he does remain the backup, that means he's probably only going to get 30 starts in the season. Might only make 35 appearances, maybe less than that. That was an interesting thing. He made 8 appearances in relief, so you could tell again, Coyotes are struggling a little bit having 2 goalies show up in the same game. So hopefully there will be less of that until he'll get more dedicated starts, and he'll be able to continue to play like that. But yeah, he's a bigger guy. He's 6'4", 220, takes up more space in the net. He's a right catching goalie, and he wears Brian pads, and those are 2 things that we have in common. After that, the comparison basically ends. But I'm looking forward to this guy having some success in the NHL. I think he's going to do it behind Connor Ingram. So Connor Ingram is the starter, and I actually don't remember how old Vejmelka is. Ingram might actually be technically a little bit older. I'll have to go back and double check my notes after this. I know that Ingram is about 27 years old. It's taken him a bit longer to make it to the NHL as well. But last year was his first year as a starter in the NHL. It's kind of bounced around a little bit from team to team. Was drafted by the Lightning, ended up going to the Predators and actually having his first game action there. But the first time that he was actually to spend a significant amount of time in the NHL was his time with the Coyotes. And then last year being able to spend time as a starter. And he almost got to 500. So he had more wins than he had regulation losses, barely by like a couple. But then he had a few overtime losses, so technically he still lost more games than he won. But again, with a little bit of a confidence boost, I think he can do it. So he is from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. He is a bit more of an average size goalie, 6'1", just under 200 pounds. And I think he's got potential, even though he's technically not rookie age. When it comes to his experience in the NHL, he's still kind of around there. So I think he can grow. I think that'll be the biggest thing that's going to help the Utah hockey team to get closer to the playoffs if they do make the playoffs this year. It's going to be to see his growth and his experience as he plays in front of fans who actually love him and care about him, as well as a potentially improved team through the lottery, through Logan Cooley gaining experience, and through just the rest of the team just continuing to grow. So
100%.
That's what I expect to see from our two goalies.
Great job, Tyler. Love that. The thing that Connor Ingram said at the Delta Center event, he said, if you guys keep up this noise, I'm going to run through a wall for you.
Yep.
Right?
That was amazing.
Right. To hear those words of encouragement from the guy.
He was excited.
Oh, he was excited. He's stoked.
You guys seen the commercial with the walrus in net?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Connor Ingram. We want you to be the walrus in net.
I'm
Nothing gets past
I am the walrus. Cuckoo, ka-choo.
A little bit more mobility than a walrus would.
Sure.
Yeah, good point.
But you know, if he takes up the whole net, there's not a spot.
That's right.
Anyways, yeah. Nice. Dishin with Denz. Tyler, appreciate you being on the episode today. Yeah. I love the insights. I've learned some things from what you just shared. We're going to keep this going, especially in the off season. There's a lot of potential changes, players. We got to get to know new players. Things might be switched out. You never know. So the off season's a great time to understand who's who, and I love the insights. So thanks, Tyler.
And thank you, Denz. Tyler, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to do our final segment, and we call it the power play. Let's get into it.
Get ready for your Utah power play.
Okay, power play, final segment of the show. This one's been going pretty long. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've had so much to talk about. But here's what we're going to talk about. We talked about earlier, how well will this team perform? Are they going to make the playoffs? Are they a 10-year, great team? Those are all questions that nobody really has the true answer to, right? The next question, very similar. How competitive will Utah hockey be? The Utah Hockey Club. I want to share something that I read recently that I thought was very insightful. They have young talent, right? They have an all-star in Clayton Keller. He's already my favorite player because he has his first name being
Champ.
my last name. Okay, Champ Clayton. Look it up. But here's what the article said. I thought it was good. During Wednesday's introductory event, so Wednesday the 23rd or 4th, whatever day it was, the Utah Hockey Club put its young star in front and center. Clayton Keller, a high-scoring forward, was the only Coyotes player to make the All-Star game over the past 3 seasons and is a 4-time All-Star. He's scored more than 30 goals over the past 2 seasons and was the team's co-captain. At 25, he's one of the league's young stars and already has more than 500 games of NHL experience. And he said, the person who wrote the article said, I think he has something to prove in Utah. Clayton Keller believes he is the guy because he is the guy. So, will this team be competitive? And the reason we ask this question is because really we want to dive into briefly what Utah has at its disposal for the draft. So talking about that real fast, 13 picks, right? In the coming NHL draft. That, Billy, dude, nice job. Whatever you've done, good work. With all of those draft picks, you can really build. You can find some good players. Now, you can't keep them all, right?
You try.
You try, but you can't keep them all. You can only have so many on the roster.
Yeah, why can't you keep them all? Real quick.
Well, because you can't have it. There's a certain number of people you can have on the roster.
That and salary.
Salary. Oh, of course. Salary cap. You can't pay everybody because in the NHL and every other sport known to man in professional sports, you can only have a certain amount of salary in your organization for your players.
Keeps things more fair.
Keeps things more fair.
Yep.
Which actually, the now Utah Hockey Club has one of the most cap space out of any of the teams going into the draft, plus all of this draft capital in picks. But on May 7th, happening Monday, May 7th, is the draft lottery. So what is the draft lottery? Tyler, you kind of mentioned it. What is a lottery?
So the league doesn't want teams to tank. Once they get to a point where they're like, okay, we're not going to make the playoffs, the NHL does not want the team just to give up on the season and be like, okay, we're done. we're going to go after the top pick in the draft. We're going to go after this year's McDavid or whoever the number one is. What they want to do is they want to make sure that teams are continuing to play hard, and so they do is they randomize. So the worst place team is still going to get the best chance of getting the top pick, but it's not a guarantee that they're going to get a top pick. So they put a number of lottery balls and put them into a machine. If you're more towards the bottom, it's a bunch of balls that they put in there for you. There are less balls until you get up to the top teams. What this does, though, is it gives more teams the opportunity to move up in the draft or even be in that first spot in the draft. So it introduces some randomization to prevent tanking towards the end of the season. It gives some other teams that might not have the chance of getting that top pick to get a better pick than they might normally would.
And actually, in the NHL draft lottery, there are 2 lottery drawings, one for number 1 and one for number 2. Then the remaining teams, 3 through 16, are assigned picks based on the inverse order of the regular season standing. So how many points in games you've won, right? And then picks numbers 17 through 32 are based on regular season standing and playoff results. So getting that number 1 pick, getting that number 2 pick from a lottery type, when someone wins the lottery, you win big, right? Getting first pick in any draft, especially in the NHL, is huge. And actually, the prospect, you were wondering, it's Macklin Celebrini, center from Boston University. He is the top prospect. Now, what are the odds? What are the odds that Utah gets number 1? Let's talk about that real quick. So the odds are the highest for the San Jose Sharks.
What?
That is the
Just
suggestion.
kidding. If you know what happened this season, obviously that's a
If you know, you know. Go check out their record.
You can't
Unfortunate.
make 50 points. There's a good chance.
Yeah. Sorry, Victor. We know you're a Sharks fan. I know you're listening, too. Shout out to you, Vic. He wasn't at the game. He's on our team, but he was
He's
in
our
California.
team manager, yeah.
He's our team manager, one of our centers. Two of our centers that usually play center were out on the
For the
frivolous
championship game?
California
Man,
trips.
what's
whatever.
priorities?
No, priorities. So where is Utah, though? There is a 7.5% chance that Utah gets the number 1 pick. Now, in Chirping with Champ, we heard that someone said it's rigged.
Yeah.
And you go look up, just go on social and start searching what the draft lottery is. So many people believe that Utah's going to get it. Just because we're a new team. There's been that whole love between Ryan Smith and the commissioner, right? He's so glad that we were able to make this move so quick. Not we. I'm not part of the organization. I wish I was. But,
Hey, they're hiring.
Yeah, dude. Okay, yeah. It could be an event staff, maybe. I could help with marketing.
The clock manager.
I would love that. I'm right there on the ice.
There you go.
Right? That'd be sick. But anyway, 7.5%. So we have a pretty good shot. Now, what are some of the needs? Have you read into what the biggest gap is right now for the team? If not, I can shed some light on it. They suggest that the biggest need right now is a defender. They need more defenders that can truly defend, right? Because they probably got scored on more than they wanted to last season. So
Yeah.
The goalies would agree with you there.
Yeah, right? And as we had such a great lesson from Tyler over here, you can't just let your goalie hanging out to dry. So getting those defensemen, and actually the second prospect or top prospect after Macklin is, boy, I'm going to butcher this name, but it's Artyom Levshinov, defender from Michigan State. So if we don't get number 1, mostly everybody suggests Utah's going to get number 2 just because it's rigged. That's what people are saying.
So the preference would be we'd get number 2 anyways.
Yeah, I mean, we could.
We want the
We could
defenseman.
manage. I mean, we have so many picks. We're going to be getting so many players anyway. I'm sorry. I keep referencing we. They get the picks. So that will be interesting.
Side tangent. When you're a fan of a team and they're winning, you say, "Oh, we did so well," and then when they lose, you're like, "They lost the game." And you
suck.
don't take ownership of it.
Yeah, welcome to sports, right? So to end the show, just so you know what's going on, you can watch the NHL Draft Lottery on May 7th. How to watch? You can watch it on ESPN, Sportsnet, TVA Sports. They're going to broadcast the lottery. I'm going to be watching for sure. I hope that Utah gets number one. 7.5% odds aren't great, but hey, I've had less odds and I've won. So
Yeah, Vegas has been good to you.
dude, my mom's listening. But the 2024 NHL Draft, after the lottery happens, the lottery is not the draft, by the way. Don't
Separate.
think that. They are separate. The draft happens and will be held. It'll be held in Vegas. What are the odds? Whoa, we're talking odds. We're talking Vegas.
We got to go.
We gotta go.
And it's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
On the draft.
Right.
Not right now.
Happy early birthday. But yes, June 28th, 29th in Vegas at the Sphere. It has all the graphics. Super cool.
The nice ball.
Round 1's held on June 28th. Rounds 2 through 7 will be held on Saturday, June 29th. So, NHL Draft coming up. The lottery coming up on May 7th. Get excited, Utah hockey fans. It's so great to be in the state of Utah right now. Sports is blooming. MLB's coming soon. The Winter Olympics is coming potentially in a decade from now.
That's right around the corner to Olympic
Right
timeline.
around the corner. We'd like to thank Tyler for coming on the show. Tyler, thank you, man. Any final thoughts?
I just wanted to say 13 picks over 7 rounds. I don't think that Utah is going to hang on to some of those. I think they're either going to trade up to get a better prospect in the draft,
Great point.
or they're going to go and they're going to build some assets. Personally, I think they're going to want to get at least one other goalie prospect right now because their pool is just a little bit thin. I think they're going to want to get someone else to kind of push the guys up at the top to perform better too. So
Great insight.
that's my thought.
That's a great point because when you have that much draft capital, you don't just pick with them, right? You
Trading power.
and you get the people that you truly want, both from players not in the draft and in the draft. So
If you don't understand the draft, Draft Day is a good movie. It's about the NFL draft. And they dramatize it a little bit.
yeah, they definitely dramatize it.
But if you want to understand the basics
Kind of
behind
the
drafts,
premise of drafting.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes on. Go
Yeah.
watch that show, and then you'll be like, wow, there's a lot more than just somebody's name getting called out, right?
Yep.
Scouts for months, years looking at these players to then decide we're going to use a pick on this person because they're the next big thing.
Yep. That's a wrap on our show. If you liked it, please comment. Let us know. Last thing, people have been asking about swag. So comment, and maybe we'll launch a swag store. Because people are digging the UTalk Hockey logo and the new exciting things. Let us know in the comments.
I vote yes.
Okay.
Tyler
we
wants
got
some.
one. We got one shirt
We
sold.
got one shirt sold.
We can do it like those videos that all the ladies do on the social medias. Comment UTalk, and that means you bought it. So if you want one, just comment UTalk, and we're gonna get your money somehow. That's
Yep.
how they do it.
Yep. And as a reminder, we are giving away 2 preseason
That's
tickets.
right.
You
Don't
got to be
forget
able
that.
to like and subscribe to our content.
Follow us on social, and then subscribe to our podcast either on YouTube or one of the podcast channels for audio, and that will enter you to win. We're going to draw for that later in the summer, so it will take some time, but we want to get a chance for everybody to actually follow us and subscribe, and then we'll call the winner out before we close out our first off season of our show, which actually will be at the end of June. We'll take a break in July, and then we'll come back for the NHL season starting in 2024.
So exciting.
So exciting. So make sure you do that, because then it enters you to win 2 preseason tickets to an NHL Utah hockey game.
Unreal.
So exciting. Thanks for listening. I'm Champ.
I'm Denz.
Thank you, Tyler, for
I'm
coming.
Tyler.
Okay, we'll see you later.
Over and out.